Hello my dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I thought I would share with you some books that I would do anything to be able to read again for the first time. Recently, my 7-year anniversary here on YouTube came and went, and it just got me thinking about books, particularly since I've started this channel, that really just hit me. And I wish there was a way to go back and read them all again for the first time. So we're just going to get on into it. This is in no particular order. I just got a pile here. Let's just get on into it. So first of all, we have The Dazzling Truth by Helen Cullen. The Dazzling Truth is the North American title for this book. Here in Canada and America, it's called The Dazzling Truth. In Europe, I believe it's called The Truth Must Dazzle Gradually, which I really like that title better. But for whatever reason, North America decided we need to shorten the title, and here we are with The Dazzling Truth. Anyway, Helen is an Irish author, and this book hit me hard. It's the story of a woman named Maeve who struggles with extreme severe depression. It chronicles her life from meeting her husband all the way up through until a Christmas when her children are all teenagers and older. They're all fairly grown, and one Christmas she goes missing. And so in the present we know that she's gone missing, and then we get flashbacks to her life. And Maeve had sort of always had a pact with herself wherein she would mark the days on the calendar. She'd have a certain color for a good day and a certain color for a bad day. And she decided that when a year passed and there were more bad days than good, that she was going to take it upon herself to do something about it. And so now this Christmas has come and she's gone missing. Her family is looking for her. The whole town is looking for her. And it's an incredibly sad story. I feel like it's a stark, realistic look at the way that depression and mental illness can take over a beautiful life. Like, no matter what you have and the people in your life, sometimes it's just too much. And this book will break your heart, but it's so beautifully written. I would definitely recommend it, and I wish I could read it again for the first time. Next up, we have They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. It's a bit of a change in pace, but this book is about a woman who's a professor at a college who decides to take justice into her own hands and punish men who get away with terrible crimes that they've done to women. Men who attend the school have done to women who attend the school and get away with it, and she decides we're not doing that anymore. And you know, if she hears tell of a woman who's been assaulted by some guy on the campus, she kills him. And it's excellent. I thought it was a great book. I enjoyed it a lot. There's a twist in this book around the halfway point, or more than the halfway point, but I didn't see it coming, and it really added to the book for me. Would recommend. Really enjoyed it. Next up, this is a horror novel that I read sort of on a whim. Actually, my friend Kim, who I've met here on YouTube, on Facebook, she posts books that are coming out. Every month she posts one of like anticipated releases for the month, and one month It Will Just Be Us by Joe Kaplan was one of the books on that list, and it's a haunted house story, and I love me a haunted house story, so I picked it up, and I loved it. This, for me personally, was one of the scariest books I've ever read. Ever. Now, of course, what scares me and what scares you might not be the same thing, but for me, this really did it. It's about two sisters who are currently at their childhood home. One of the sisters is pregnant, and our main character, Sam, so she's living there with her mom. Her sister comes home, she's pregnant, And this house is haunted, and is haunted in a way that I've never seen done before. It's like, it's almost like the house doesn't know what time it's in, and so they can see and hear things that have happened in the house, in the past, in the future, but they're haunted by the visions of things that have happened in this house, whether they happened before or haven't happened yet. And there was just something about the way this was written that shook me to my core. I loved it. I would love to be able to read it again for the first time. Next up, we have The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. If you haven't read this book, this is the kind of book I would recommend to everyone. It's the story of a family in the 1970s. And our main character's name is, Lenny. And her dad comes home from war, and he was a prisoner of war, and he is really going through it with his mental health. And he finds out that one of the men he fought alongside passed away in the war. And he finds out from that man's father that the man had left him a piece of land up in Alaska. And so he says, you know what, let's pack up our stuff, load up the car, drive to Alaska. We now have our own piece of land to start fresh. Now, if you know anything about Alaska, you know that it's very isolated. You know, it's dark a lot of the time in the winter. The window of sunlight's very small. I lived for a few years up in the Northwest Territories in Yellowknife, so I assume it's very similar. The days are very short in the winter. Now, the place they're going in Alaska, it's extremely isolated, far more than in Yellowknife where I was. It's a small town. There's very few neighbors. So you can imagine now a man who's struggling with his mental health because he was a prisoner of war and is going through all kinds of severe post-traumatic stress disorder, now takes himself and his small family and isolates them in the Alaskan wilderness, basically, and he's not even getting any sunshine. It's an intense story, but it's beautiful. If you've read Kristen Hanna and you haven't read this one, then you definitely need to read this. But even if you've never read a Kristen Hanna book before, this one is so good. It is so good. It will stay with you. I still think of it. I'll be going about my day and I'll think about something from this book. So good. Whoa. just hitting the tripod with books. Okay, so next up we have My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. Right? Yeah. Kate Elizabeth Russell. I read this book during the pandemic, right when it started. I put in an order for a bunch of books because I knew I wouldn't be going anywhere for the foreseeable future at least. So we got some books and this was one of them. And oh my lordy. This book is about, so it takes place in two different time periods, in 2000 and then in 2017. And it's about a girl named Vanessa. And in the 2000 timeline, she's 15 years old, and she is being, I don't know how to describe it. She begins an inappropriate relationship with her teacher, her high school teacher. Like, she's very young, 15. She becomes entangled with this 42-year-old man who is grooming her, and they're having an inappropriate relationship. And when I say inappropriate, I don't mean it to sound as though that's any blame of the child's. It's 100% on the 42-year-old man. And then in 2017, she's an adult now, and she's coming to understand that what happened back in the past was very wrong. And because when she's a teenager, she thinks she loves him. And now as an adult, she's looking back and realizing that she was abused. And it's a harrowing tale that's beautifully told, and I would recommend it if that's a subject matter you can handle, because I know that can be very difficult for a lot of people to read, and it is difficult to read. Even if you think you can handle it, it's still difficult. But I think it's an important story. Next up, we have I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. You could substitute any Ian Reid into this, and I would say the same thing. I love him. He writes these slender volumes that really pack a punch. And I picked this up. I was at Walmart one day years ago, 2017 I think, and just saw it, just grabbed it. I knew nothing about it. Nothing about it. I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing about Ian Reid in general and how he tells a story. So you can imagine, if you've read this, you can imagine the punch this delivered right to my face when I finished reading it. I was blown away, and it's made me a lifelong fan of Ian Reid. I will instantly read anything that he writes. There's this, there's Foe, there's We Spread. I think he's such an interesting storyteller. This was also a movie made by Netflix starring Jessie Buckley and Kirsten Dunst's husband. Jessie Buckley's the girl, and Jessie, I'm gonna insert it here. It's Jesse Plemons. Anyway, this is about a couple who are driving in a car. A lot of the book takes place in this car. The girl, she's thinking about breaking up with her boyfriend, even though they're now on this road trip in a stormy winter weather, to go to his family home to see his parents. And the whole time there, she's thinking about how she is thinking of ending things. And it's wild, it's dark, it's twisted. You'll finish it, you'll be like, what did I just read? I read this, I finished this, I instantly read it again. And I got more from it the second time, because once you know what's happening when you reread it, you know what's happening, so you can put into context things that didn't make sense the first time around. Ian's books are really good for that, for rereading. But I'd love to read it again for the first time, and so I can't wait for the next Ian Reid book to come out, although we just got one in September, so it's probably going to be a year or two until the next one. But I definitely recommend him, especially if you like things that are a little different, that challenge you in different ways. I would definitely recommend Ian. So those were the books that I thought up when I first thought, what books would I love to reread again from my YouTube era the past 7 years. I almost want to add On the Savage Side by Tiffany McDaniel, because that's an absolutely gorgeous book, and the experience of reading it is out of this world. But it's so sad. It's so sad. It's so sad. It's one of those books that I don't know if I'll ever be able to reread again because of how upset it made me. In the best possible way. It's about twin sisters growing up in Ohio based on a true story. Well, it's an imagining of a true situation. So it's like the detailed imaginings of a true situation of missing women in Ohio. And it's the best book I've read so far this year. So I kind of want to put it on this list, but at the same time I know I couldn't handle it again. Not yet anyway. Maybe in a few years down the road I'll be able to revisit Ark and Daisy, but or Daffy, sorry. I got my flowers mixed up there for a second. But yeah, it's a fantastic, amazing, beautiful story. Tiffany McDaniel is a storyteller in a league of her own, I feel like. I don't know many people that can write like that. Present, past, nothing. Anyway, you guys, let me know in the comments down below, if you could reread one book for the first time, which book would it be? Because maybe I'll add that to my ever-growing TBR list. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!